struggling to market to your ideal clientele with old branding that worked for you years ago? This branding gap is playing a huge role in your current client conversion rate, and you may not even know it. We've heard it all before. My website doesn't matter that much, or I'll get to it eventually, but years go by and yet you're still asking the same question. Why am I still working the same weddings at the same price point with no growth? So what does your current brand and website say about you? Does your copy actually captivate your ideal clientele, or are they quickly closing your site and connecting with someone else? It's time to give your brand some pampering at the Creative Cabana, your all-inclusive strategy and design studio. With over a decade of experience as wedding vendors, their full-service team knows exactly how powerful great branding can be for your business growth. Whether you need a complete brand refresh or just a touch-up with services like website design, brand identity, or copywriting, they've got you covered. And for filmmakers out there, they also specialize in logo animations so that your film can feel that much more elevated. This is something I just invested in, and it's brought an entirely new look to my films. So you poured your heart and soul into your business. Now it's time for a brand that connects with your customers on every level. Visit their website today and use our discount code WGY300 for $300 off your first project at creativecabana.co. Welcome to the We Got You podcast, a network curated for wedding photographers and filmmakers that dives deep into the strategies and tactics to transitioning a side hustle in the wedding industry into a full-time, thriving career. We're your hosts, luxury wedding filmmaker Emma K. Films and luxury destination wedding photographer Hannah Brook Photography. It wasn't too long ago that we picked up our cameras for the first time, having absolutely no idea where it would lead us. Years later, we're traveling the globe for beautiful destination weddings, build our dream lifestyles, and run multi-six-figure careers. It didn't happen overnight and it wasn't easy, but it is attainable and so worth it. And we're ready to teach you our strategies. Covering a variety of topics from both our firsthand experiences and reputable guest speakers' insights crucial for business growth, we're exploring the art of marketing within your niche, discussing effective ways to attract and retain clients, leverage social media, and build a strong online presence, and so much more. We're not shying away from talking through the challenges of the wedding industry and offering realistic solutions to navigate them successfully. We emphasize the importance of networking, establishing meaningful relationships with clients, and continuously honing one's craft to stand out in a competitive market. This is the We Got You podcast. Welcome back, fam, to another episode of the We Got You podcast. Super excited that you're on here today listening, whether it be from home, from your office, from driving in the car. I'm so excited because it's just me this episode, and we are going to be going into a topic that's a pretty heavy topic. And when I was naming this episode, I felt really just inspired of what I wanted to talk about. And I also think pretty fearful too, because I was thinking in my head all the things that I, want to say, don't want to say. And then there was this fear of, if I talk about reasons why I have failed before as an educator, then what are other people going to think, right? Really getting stuck in that mindset of fear of what other people might think. And then I realized that's exactly why we're going to do this episode today. This is exactly why this conversation needs to be had. Whether you are a videographer or a photographer who is not in the education space and just wants to listen in, maybe you're thinking about launching education, or maybe you're an educator who's listening to this episode. Maybe you're a friend of mine. Maybe you are, maybe we haven't met yet, but I hope this episode, if anything, can leave you just with things to think about. But all that to be said, I want to talk about ways that I have failed as an educator. This is such a hot topic to talk about, but I literally, if you're watching, I have an entire page of notes here of reasons why I think that this is so healthy to talk about, because maybe you're someone who's in the education space and these things that I'm about to share with you can save you from feeling like you failed. I say all this. This is not meant to be. You're not just going to listen to an episode of just all these reasons why I failed and a sad episode. These are moments that have shaped me as an educator, that have reminded me
why I am in this space, why I love teaching, why I love being able to make a difference in other filmmakers or photographers' lives. And these are genuinely, again, just moments that have made such a big difference in my life. Not everything is rainbows and sunshine. I feel like a lot of people out there, we tend to want to put educators on this pedestal of like, oh my gosh, how are you doing all these things? How are you keeping up? You're doing a billion things at one time. It looks like your business is thriving. And yeah, sure, like your business totally could be thriving and that's incredible. But there are so many challenges and so many hurdles and so many things that we go through, whether you're an educator in the space or not. But especially as an educator, it's hard sometimes. It feels like all eyes are kind of on you. They're always watching your every move. They're watching like, when are you launching this? What is this? Right. And for a lot of people, we think, Emma, they're not watching you, but people are, especially in this industry that it can feel so tight knit at times. It feels like there's a lot of education that is out there, specifically in the wedding videographer industry, which I'm so excited for. And I have lots of friends that have launched education that's been amazing. But with all that to be said, it is a saturated industry and it can be difficult at times. So, anyways, with all that to say, I want to kind of touch base on the importance of just like recognizing times that were pretty difficult in the educator space. And I will say, I will never stop teaching. I will never stop building relationships with people. I will continuously do everything in my power to be a lead female videographer educator, and that will never stop. But I just think it's so important to recognize moments where it does feel like failure. And again, it's not failure because it shaped me into someone that I am today, but just moments that have really played a pivotal role. So the first thing I think, especially for me as an educator, is feeling the need to create for others' approval. I faced this actually. So I launched my course in February, 4 Pillars to Luxury, course for wedding videographers and photographers wanting to get into the luxury market. I had spent a year creating this course. I mean, I had poured so much time into it, so much energy. I had scripted it out, spent a lot of money going through the process of like actually getting it out there to the world. And I was so proud of it when it came out. And honestly, when the course launched, hitting almost 50 sales within the first month was huge for me. Like it was something that I was definitely not imagining to break even within the first day. And so like that was incredible. But after my course had launched, I had felt this like I had spent all this time, all this anticipation preparing myself for this course launch, that when it actually launched and came out, I was so overwhelmed. And like, I don't even want to necessarily, like, we're not even talking about like overwhelmed with the good things. Like, it is a lot of work launching a course. And people don't think that. People are very quick and easy to give their opinions, to state the facts, to like all those types of things. But it's so much work that goes into a course that it just felt so overwhelming. At the time too, there was a lot of other education coming out. And I will say, and I mean this when I say it, every piece of education that was coming out during that time were some of my dearest friends who were offering incredible education out there, truly. But for me, it felt like a lot. I felt pretty overwhelmed. And I felt like this need of like, I have to just keep up. I have to like, I'm okay, like now that the course is out, now what? Right. And I think it's that everyone feels this in the industry, right? Like they are working towards something. And then once they achieve it, it's like, okay, the next thing, right? And you're constantly running in what feels like this rat race. You're running in this hamster wheel. And so for me, I just really struggled a lot with just like, I need to like start brainstorming tons of different ideas, and I need to just stay relevant. And honestly, I feel very lucky that I caught myself and I think it was just like one day I was sitting down, like brainstorming all these different things. And I just took a moment and I was like, Emma, you're thinking these things for the wrong intentions. You launched the course with great intentions, but now you just want to stay relevant. You don't want to get lost. You just want other people's approval. And so I ended up actually like a month and a half after the course launched. I was going to keep it up forever, but I actually like took it down and was like, we're going to take a break for a little bit. We're going to like really come back to the roots. And granted, now at this time, the course is open for re-enrollment. It's on my website, but that's not what this episode is about. But I recognized that I was going to go down a path that was to get other people's approval and to feel the need to stay relevant, where that was not the mission behind why I create education. And so it's not to say to other people out there, like if you're feeling overwhelmed, just like stop and freeze everything, right? Because like, yeah, sure, I lost out for the few months that I didn't have the course open. Like I lost out on, I'm sure, like a good amount of income from people who would have bought it. But I needed to have a moment to breathe and to come back and really focus on my why. And then it gave me the ability when I reopened the course to launch, like I poured so much more time, so much more energy into it, so much more thought for no, this, I am confident in what this piece of education provides. I'm not putting this out for other people's approval or because I feel like I have to stay relevant. So anyways, I feel like that was probably the longest ramble I'm going to give on this episode, but I feel like I struggled with that. I think it was like educator fatigue. I don't remember who I was talking to, but I was talking to someone about educator fatigue, and I think that it's so valid. I think as educators, everyone is working so hard to make money, to come out with education, to help other people. It feels like this constant hamster wheel. It feels like you're stuck and you're never actually going to have a to-do list that is completely complete, right? Because you're always thinking of everything else. And so it gets so overwhelming sometimes. Then when you've got everybody else coming out with education, right? You feel this need of, no, I have to stay relevant. I have to stay relevant. If I go off the grid for a month, if I go under the radar, people are going to forget about me. And then people aren't going to buy the education that I have. And that mindset for me then thinking, no, I need to create was wrong. And honestly, me going off the radar, I mean, I dipped off the radar probably for like, I don't know, April, May, like 2.5 months. I just laid low. And honestly, it was so refreshing to give myself a second to just like come back and think, no, this is why I provide education. This is what I'm here to offer people. And this is the difference that I want to make for other filmmakers. So anyways, I think another thing is letting imposter syndrome stop you. I have been in so many situations in my career where I have let imposter syndrome get the best of me. I've had so many ideas throughout my career where I'm super, super excited about it, but then I don't think that I have the experience of launching it. And I even remember, again, I reference the course because let's be real, it's like the biggest piece of education that I am offering at this moment. When I was first creating the course, I was horrified to title it 4 Pillars to Luxury because I was like, all these other educators are going to look at it and they're going to think luxury, and they're going to think, who is this 24-year-old girl? Who does she think she is talking about luxury? And man, I spent so much time concerning myself over what other people think and feeling like I was an imposter. And I had numerous conversations with people who were like, Emma, you've done the work. You've booked the $30,000 wedding. You've booked the $40,000 wedding. You're working with luxury vendors. You're in the luxury market. And as unfortunate, like I shouldn't have to have people tell me that. I should know that myself. And it took me a minute. But my point is, it can be so easy to let imposter syndrome get to you because we get so concerned about what our peers will think. And again, I think it's even like the needing to stay relevant. I know people are going to look at me and what are they going to think about me? And at the end of the day, you're not faking it. Don't fake it. Don't lie. Don't truly deep down be someone that you're not, but recognize your worth. It took me a moment before launching that course to really sit with myself and think, no, I am in the luxury market. I am working with luxury clients. I am doing it. I have earned my seat at the table. I am worth it. And I believe in it with 100% of my gut to then feel so confident when I was then creating the course to just, Emma, just teach on what you know, right? Like don't teach on all this fluff. Don't teach on stuff that's just going to like be another one of those courses that people are sitting on just like feeling like they're not getting anything out of. Like give them what you know and be confident in that. And anyways, it took me a while. And I even struggled with it even at the very beginning when I was thinking about becoming an educator. I was like, I really wanted to offer mentorships. I just felt this imposter syndrome of I don't know everything. And how am I going to help someone if I don't know everything? And I think a lot of people think that. I think a lot of people sit here and we think, I don't have anything good to offer. There were so many things in my business that I was so confident in talking about. I could talk to you all day about branding. I could talk to you all day about marketing. I could talk to you all day about networking. Could I talk to you all day about color grading? Absolutely not. Could I talk to you all day about building a really deep story when it comes to editing? Absolutely not. And no one wants to admit that, but we don't know everything. We don't. There are things that I certainly know better than I do others. And I realize instead of taking that as I don't know anything, I'm going to really get good at what I know. And I'm going to be really confident in that. And I'm going to offer, even if it's a small solution, you don't have to save the world for other people, right? I mean, ideally, yes, that's what you want to do, right? Like you want to make a difference, but small differences add up to a big change. So if you can go in and you can solve one small problem for another videographer, that will make a huge difference in their life. And so for me, especially at the beginning, I felt like, who was I to teach on a mentorship? Instead of me claiming that I knew everything, and even to this day, there's so many things I don't know. I could not sit and talk to you about color grading, nor could I sit and honestly talk to you about how to build an insanely deep storytelling edit, right? I have friends who blow my mind with how good they are at it, but that's not me. And you know what? That's okay. So instead of me claiming I'm going to teach you all those things, or me claiming that I don't know anything and feeling that imposter syndrome, it's me finding what I'm good at. And so like, I encourage you, if you're someone that's like, I want to get into education, but I feel like I don't know anything, think about what you do know. How confident are you in the little things that you do know? Can you solve a small problem for someone else? That right there can make a big difference.
Does your current client delivery system feel unexciting, limiting, and boring? Maybe you're still using good old Google Drive or Dropbox to deliver your clients' wedding films. If the answer to these is yes, it's time to level up your video delivery experience with VidFlow. VidFlow is a pay-per-use online platform that allows you to deliver fully branded websites for each of your clients. While being incredibly affordable, VidFlow is accessible on mobile, desktop, and smart TVs with included long-term hosting so that your clients can truly enjoy the entire experience when receiving their wedding films. When I first found VidFlow, it was such an easy switch that truly benefited my business substantially. With so many incredible features and options for customization and personalization, VidFlow continues to wow my clients time and time again. You can find VidFlow on Instagram or visit their website at vidflow.co. Use our code WGY20 for 20% off a yearly premium membership and level up your client experience today with VidFlow.
Another thing is doing it for the money. I see a lot of educators get into the space and they just want to do it for the money. Been there. It has been something that I feel like I struggle with daily. Of course we want to make money. Like we would be lying to tell you that we are educators because we don't want to make money, right? Like that does play a role. It does. It plays a role. I'm sorry, right? It's paying our bills, but you can't just do it for the money. I have had so many conversations, especially when it comes to Wedding Filmmaker Workshop, the workshop that I host. I'd be lying if I told you that I make a crazy amount of profit on that workshop. I don't. Could I make more profit if I invested less in the experiences that I have a part of it? Yes, I totally could. But for me, it's a passion project. For me, it's something that I'm not paying out of pocket for. I am making a profit, right? I am being paid for my time, but I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it because I want to make a difference in filmmakers' lives, because I want to build experiences, because I know how lonely we've all felt at times in this industry, and even myself, that just having a community is so important. So I don't say that where every single piece of education that you offer has to be just because you love doing it. Because again, I'd be lying if I told you that it wasn't like because of the money, because money totally plays a role in it. But I think a lot of people start workshops and they just want them to blow up and they just want to make a huge profit off of them. I didn't profit on my first workshop. I didn't profit on my second workshop. My third workshop, I made a little bit of profit, but I poured so much back into it. When you are thinking about education, why are you doing it? Are you doing it because you're so passionate about the problem that you're going to solve, about what you want to help other people do? Or are you doing it just because you want quick, easy money? Because here's the thing, with education, you can make a lot of money. That is true. But it isn't something that you should be expecting to just see in a day, especially when it comes to hosting events. And so I've been there. It's a struggle, but remind yourself why you're an educator and that it's not just for the money. Next thing I would say is not taking constructive feedback into consideration. I think as educators, a lot of us just want to look for the good stuff, right? We just want to look for the good review. And so that way we can share it on our story and that can blow up and that can convince other people to buy. I get it. Again, like I'm giving these reasons because I get it. I do that. I look for good reviews so that I can share them. However, I have let there be times where I overlooked the constructive feedback. And I want to make a very clear distinction that there is a complete difference of listening to people who are trolling you and listening to people who are giving you constructive feedback, because there will always be trolls on Instagram, in your Facebook group. There will always be people who are not on your team, who are not here to support you. That's just the fact. Jealousy plays a role, comparison syndrome, there's all those variables. But there will always be people who will troll, and you can't get rid of that. Those people, we don't need them in our corner. We don't. And it's hard. I will say, like I've had someone troll on my work before, and dang, it's rough. It's rough seeing that. But I recognize the difference between someone who is trolling you and someone who's actually giving you constructive feedback. And what I really want to say is take constructive feedback. Don't just go look for the good stuff. Even in the education that I've offered, even just recently, I have been looking way more for, instead of writing me a review, please tell me things that I can do better. Please tell me things that you feel like are missing. Tell me things that you want to see differently. Even in the first coaching program that Hannah and I launched, we learned so much in that coaching program. And we just asked for feedback. We were like, please help us make it better. There were so many things that we then realized were like, we need to do this differently and this differently and this differently. So then we could launch a new coaching program this summer, which is currently going on, and it actually be that much more effective because we listened to the constructive feedback that people are giving us. And so I think, again, sometimes we just look for reviews. I think it's so important to get constructive feedback, to almost make people tell you what is missing, what could be different, what could make this that much better. Like, please help me. Because I think that is a perspective that a lot of people don't want to get or they don't want to listen to. The last thing I want to talk about is selling instead of relationship building. I think this is a healthy balance. I do. I think it's a gray area too, because obviously you want to sell what you've created, right? Even for me, it's like I want to sell. But there have been times in this industry where I have recognized I'm doing more selling than I am actually focusing on the relationships that I'm building with other filmmakers or other photographers in the industry. And so I think you really need to pay attention to the relationship that you're building. If you're selling a course, if you're selling a workshop, honestly, let's be real. Any piece of education, don't focus so much on this just being a sales pitch. Focus on really recognizing what difference it can make in someone else's life, right? So for me, for a long time, like the biggest thing about my course was like, the ROI is going to be significantly greater than what you purchased the course for. And it can be really easy to run ads on that, or really easy to lose the relationship when you're focusing on the money part. But I'm like, that is my strength. That is my strength, looking at the ROI, looking at the numbers. So then it was, okay, I need to build relationships though, instead of just selling. I need to recognize that my course is not for everyone. And when I recognized that my course isn't for everyone, that was when I was really able to make a difference in those that were asking questions about the course. When I was honest with someone and then they purchased the course, they had a great experience with it because they had already asked those questions. They had already had an idea of what the expectations were in their mind, to where when they purchased the course, it was that much further than their expectations, other than someone just being like, hey, is your course for me? And maybe I like knew it wasn't for them and I'm like, no, go buy it, right? Like I knew from the get-go, like do not do that. Don't just focus so much on selling that you lose that relationship aspect. But anyways, I feel like this podcast episode was a word vomit. And I think a lot of this stuff feels pretty vulnerable to talk about. I think it's needed. I do think there are a lot of educators out there that feel the same way that I do, that have felt the same way that I have. I think these are healthy conversations. These are only conversations that are going to make us better as educators. There is space in the education industry. This is not an industry that needs to be cliquey. It is an industry that needs community and that has so many people who offer so many different types of education that I genuinely couldn't be more proud of. Truly. I mean, seeing everyone from like Multiply Media rock it with the sound design, the packs, seeing Stanton just knock it out of the park with his adventure destination courses and Rome, and seeing Catherine go so deep into the mindset and the storytelling aspect of edits, seeing Runaway Vows crush it with business and posing and courses. I feel so lucky to have an incredible community around me that is offering such great education. And I'm not even scratching the surface to the education that's out there truly that I support and that I believe in, because there's so many educators out there right now that are doing so many great things. But I think at some point we've all felt certain types of way. We've all felt like we've failed. It is not just this easy climb up the ladder. It is like climbing up a mountain, right? There are times where we feel like we've failed. There are times where we feel like felt like we've had setbacks. But if this episode can do anything, it's just to encourage you, your mindset behind it, and also recognizing that we are all just human. We are all just human at the end of the day. I am here literally telling you that I felt like I have dropped off the face of the earth in the last few months. I have reworked everything that I have built over the last few years. I have changed my mindset on a lot of things that for a minute I lost focus of. And I'm not the only one that has felt that way. And if you're an educator, or maybe you're someone that wants to get into education, I hope that this really makes you think about some of the things in this space and gives you the opportunity to not make the same mistakes, or to just think more consciously about it. All that to say, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I would really love to keep the conversation going. If you want to DM about it personally, you can always DM me at MK_films. Hop in our Facebook group. I know sometimes like you can always put anonymous and give us a vulnerable post, but yeah, you can always DM me, you can email. But yeah, I just wanted to come out with this, and I hope it makes a difference for someone. So with all that to say, I'll see you next week on the We Got You podcast.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the We Got You podcast. We would absolutely love it if you could take an extra minute to leave us a review and let us know what you think. DM us a screenshot of it and we'll send you a coffee on us. If you want access to an exclusive community, rad freebies, giveaways, and wedding referrals, then join our Facebook group today. Also, if you aren't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure that you're following along on Instagram at WeGotYou_podcast to stay up to date. We'll see you next week on the We Got You podcast.